All right, family, let's go into today's lesson. And the title of today's lesson is Spiritually Suited and Booted. So staying, I'm going to put the staying on there. Staying spiritually suited and booted. Like boots on the ground. Sober-minded. Let me translate that. Right? So in this world where sin reigns supreme, and the devil has been let loose to wreak havoc on man, we find ourselves unable to combat against the strong delusions of sin which have been sent upon many to render us weak against the powers we can't see that help destroy our lives. It's time to no longer operate passively in our defense against the adversary and become proactive in our efforts to ward off evil by seeing things for what they really are. Let's take a look at the matter so that we can be ready for the battle ahead with the full armor of the Most High, right? Do you guys see that? Do we see the works of the forces of evil, should I say, working more and more and more and more as we get closer to the end? Right? I could think of a few things. I mean, we're living in a time where they have Baphomet statues. We're living in a time, depending on where you are in the world, kids can be introduced to satanic cartoons, satanic imagery. We're seeing that this is coming a little bit more of a norm. What else are we seeing? We're seeing more normalization of satanic rituals being done in the open. So I'm talking about, the Olympics. I'm talking about, we're looking at, sports events, and we're seeing these things done. Few things that I'm thinking about. We're living in a time where they're looking to open up portals and get in touch with entities in these portals and all these different things. So we're living in a time where we're seeing that, and we know that according to certain plans that were written by, I'm going to say, the forefathers that made this establishment that we call North America, we know that a lot of them in their writings spoke about this time, how during this time they will look to unleash Lucifer on the population, right? And how Christians would be left without a pot to lean on, for lack of better words, right? We would be helpless, or at least this is what they believe, that we would be helpless without direction, and because we have no direction and no understanding of the times that we are in, we would all choose to align ourselves with Lucifer. This is what they believe, right? One thing that we do see, though, we do see where this, satanic practices are becoming more normalized. One of the things we're seeing, like for instance, I remember I was listening to, because we hear what's going on in the news with some of these celebrities and whatnot, not going into names specific, but with one of them that liked to hold parties. One of the things that I remember I was hearing an article, how one of the parties that he was holding was a party to Bacchus. And I'm like, a party to Bacchus? We know what Bacchus is. That was the theme of the party. So I'm just saying that these things, behind closed doors are more normal than we believe, but now we're seeing that the public now, these things are starting to come to surface, right? And, some will say, well, Cat spoke about this. He said this is the year where everything comes to light and whatnot. And maybe that is the chant, or perhaps is the case. But we know the Bible says, giving credit to the Bible, where we put our trust in. The Bible says that eventually all things shall come to light. And that's the time where we're in, where Lucifer the invisible hand, light is being shined on the invisible hand, so to speak, right? So with that being said, let's get Ephesians chapter 6, and we'll start verse 10, speaking about this battle against the invisible realm. And let's read.
Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. Either Con, when you're there. Con? Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Ahiah, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all preservance and supplication for all saints.
All right. Let's get the commentary. So it says, there must be all of these characteristics present in a true spiritual warrior. So meaning that, as a true spiritual warrior, we have to have on this armor. We have to understand what this armor is in order for us to engage in this battle, right? Because, as a kind of hear myself. You guys just turn me down a little, please. But anyways, I was going to say, as a warrior, being on the battlefield without armor means you're vulnerable, right? So we have to understand and get comfortable in our spiritual weaponry or spiritual armor as we fight this battle, right? So let me read it again. It says there must be all of these characteristics present in a true spiritual warrior, or else the adversary will find a way into your armor like an arrow or sword that found the area of opening in an armor designed in a battle, which would cause the warrior's death, right? So if we're not getting used to wearing, our spiritual armor or whatnot, the adversary will find areas of weakness where he can penetrate, right? Or where he can cause damage, should I say, right? We must recognize that there is a whole kingdom against us that we can't see, and make sure we strengthen our eternal spiritual body that we can't see by doing what the Most High said to do. So let me ask you guys this, because I want to see who's really understands the battle. What are some of the forces waged against us? Let's see if we can fully comprehend the battle against us. What are some of the forces waged against us? Anybody? Spiritual forces. Let's do the spiritual realm. Spiritual realm. Let me state the question more clearly. It says we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So what are the forces, principalities, wickedness, all these different things that we war against? Not in the physical sense, but in the spiritual sense.
Christian take away Israel, so there's no more Israel.
That's physical. All right, so let's go through this. Thank you. Someone's thinking spiritual. So we know demons, right? Evil spirits, as the Bible refers to them as. What else are we wrestling against?
Demonic doorkeepers.
Some could put that in the whole area of demonic forces, or spirits, should I say? Anybody? I mean, that's a cheat, that's a way to cover everything. All right. So if we don't know what we're warring against, and I think we do, I think we're just being a little bit shy and whatnot. But I'm here to make everyone put on the thinking hats this morning. That's what I do. But nobody said Satan. Hold on. Nobody said the adversary, which is Satan. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying this would be a given. So let's get in tune, family. So what are the forces we were fighting against? Well, we know we have the adversary, right? We know we have demons. What else do we have? Yeah, but I'll link that to demons, right? I'll link that because, for instance, we know that they have no body, so they're looking to have their sensations fulfilled, right? Outside of people, witches, warlock fall inside of people, but we are wrestling against those things, 100%. So I'll throw that. We'll use that as well, right? That's linked to spirits, right? So that's linked to evil spirits. So sickness, we know that that's related to evil spirits. So we're wrestling against that, right? We know the adversary, Satan, he's the leader of all of this. The forces against us. So he's one of them as well, right? Sis, you want to say? That links to the people that are being led by something, right? So they fall into the mist. They are against us. They are one of the forces against us. But I think what I'm doing is starting from the top, working our way down, so to speak. So we all understand this. You want to say? Yes, brother. They fall into the people that's being guided by the Spirit and whatnot. So yes, they are a force against us, right? But as I said, we're dealing with the spiritual, working to the physical. You want to say that? Huh? The Kundalini spirits, like New Age yoga. They all go back to the ancient spirits as well, right? So they fall into. So you want to say something?
Maybe talking about like mental health things, like mental conditions.
That's spirits, right? That's spirits. Get for me Sirach chapter 17.
Sirach, chapter 17, verse 17. For in the divisions of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people, but Israel is the Lord's portion.
Right? So the Most High sent a ruler over every nation, but Israel is the Most High's portion. What are the rulers the Most High set over the nations? Angels. Right? So let's go back now. What are we fighting against? You got Lucifer being the head of it all. We have fallen angels, the 200 that fell, right? We know they gave birth to the Nephilim. Satan also fell with angels as well, right? So we have Satan, we have his angels, you have the fallen angels and their children, the demons, but you also have another set of angels. And these angels are the 70 angels over the nations. So they are also fighting against us, right? In the book of Enoch, they're referred to as the 70 shepherds. The 70 shepherds, when they made the Tower of Babel, they came down and the tongue was split, and each angel was to govern one of the tongues, the families with one of the tongues. Eventually, these angels now kind of took stuff pretty much a little bit further than it needed to go, and they destroyed more of the Most High sheep than they were allotted to. So they are also a force working against us, right? And I'll give you an example of this. We're going to get into the lesson, but I'll just kind of not leave you in suspense with that thought. When Christ went to go see Daniel in Babylon, who did he fight against? The prince of Persia. Right? Now, why would he have to fight against him? You see what I'm saying? That was the principality that was over the Persians. You see what I'm saying? That's one of the principalities, the angels, that was over the thing of Persia, right? So even when the Most High says in future prophecy that he would once again stir up the Medes, well, it's the angel over the Medes that he will use to get them to join this battle, this final battle, right? But every nation is governed by an entity. And these entities, in most cases, are against the children of Israel, right? So let's go through that list again. You want to say something, Brother Richard?
Yeah, so those originally, I think you did say that the angels were sent down originally, the Lord sent them, but they took.
Not those angels. So those angels that I talked about where they asked the Most High to come down, show mankind and whatnot?
No, the ones who came down to split the tongue.
Yes.
Were those ones sent by the Lord?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But then they ended up doing a lot more than what they were
Yes.
wanted to do.
And you can read that in the book of Enoch. And even in the book of Enoch also. I mean, I can find scriptures here that you can find it as well. In Isaiah, because I was reading in Isaiah, but it talks about how when Christ comes, he's first going to bound them, and then they're kings, and put them in hell, right? But in Ezekiel, it talks about, in Enoch, you see the final judgment, you see the fallen angels, the ones, Azazel and them, you see the 70 shepherds, which is the 70 over nation, all of them, as well as those who follow them, being led into the abyss to be judged, right? So these are the forces against us. Now, with that being said, so we talked about, and we're just going to speak about all of them, right? So we understand what we're against. Satan, angels, spirits, evil spirits, right? And everything else that is manipulated by these things. So when you really check it out, it's really us, believers of the Most High, against the whole world. So, as I said, we have principalities, and I say the whole world, and I'll tell you why I say the whole world. Because those who rule the world manipulate the masses. Right? Those who rule the world, they come up with the science and the news that gets everybody else in line to follow the agenda. So a lot of people will look at it and say, well, a lot of people who hold that, white man doctrine, the devil, they hold everyone accountable. They'll say, well, all of them are part of this conspiracy. And I'm just using that as an example, probably not the greatest example. But what we don't know is that through history, the masses were also lied to as well. Because when they come up with when a scientist swear, well, according to science, the Gadites or the black people are 1/3 less than humans.
So what are you?
No, but I'm just saying, just use that as a report, right? And, many of us, we believe those scientists' reports as well, too, Kai. So then now we're scared, now we're saying, well, they're saying that these people, you see what I'm saying? So they also were deceived to believe this lie. That's why the Bible says in that day they shall say, we have inherited lies from our fathers. So because they can be manipulated as well, they've been manipulated to believe a lie and that we are accursed people. So I'm throwing that out there because going back to what I'm saying is that when we look at the forces against us, it's innumerous, right? I said we got principalities, we got the angels, we got spirits, And then we got everything else that falls that can be manipulated by all of those, right? And, to kind of make this go a little bit further, I was watching Coming Out of Babylon last night. And they were talking about some of the recent signs. And some of the recent signs, what they were talking about is basically through frequency, they can control people. And I said to myself, you remember a while back we talked about, we showed a clip, and it was the Matrix movie where they had system overload or something like that, where everybody was after Neo and chasing him and whatnot. And I'm saying, family, when you really check it out, through what they recently did with a switch, they can turn everybody on to be against us. So I say that not to scare you. I say that more just to help us to understand the battle at hand, right? Now, one thing we do know is that this battle is really not ours. It's the Most High's battle. The only thing we got to do is make sure that we're on the right side of it, right? You want to say something?
I think you showed something months ago
Yeah.
about the whole frequency stuff, and I talked about the 60 Minutes programs of the government, different government officials higher up who might have not been in line with where they were going, and they were talking on 60 Minutes about frequency things that were almost maddening them.
Yeah.
And they had to leave America flee with their families because something was going on. It was just making them like experience these weird high noises, but it was something the government is doing to some of the officials. It was on 60 Minutes, so they put it out there.
Yes.
For those who think it's conspiracy. And you have real people who are not God-fearing who are saying they're actually attacking high officials who are not in line with their agenda and
Yeah.
they leave America, or they're trying to, and they're getting like brain issues and whatever. So
I mean, the thing is that the time that we're living in, it's a time of information. So it's a time where we can find these things out and know what's going on.
I know people aren't paying attention. It's right there on TV, 6 o'clock on a Sunday.
100%. But the thing is are we paying attention? Are we in tune with the battle at hand? And you'll find that a lot of us, we're really not engaged as the way we should be engaged in understanding where we are at right now, right? Like how much of us actually sit down and watch what's going on in Gaza, in Israel right now? I do. Right? Not many of us though, right? A lot of us, the church will tell us when it's time, right? But we are all called to be watchmen. We're supposed to be sober, watching the times that we are in, right? And Christ spoke about this. He says, you know what, we can discern. Everybody knows, we can look outside their window and say, hold on, it's going to rain today, and bring their umbrella. But very few of us can understand and see what's going on all around us and discern the times that we are in, right? Yeah, we're in the end times. Okay, which part? How close? What's next? What should we be looking for? And it really shows that we're really not engaged in this battle, so to speak, right? Or we're partially engaged. Now, I'm going to say partially engaged, right? So let's continue. Let's get our 1 Peter chapter, or better yet, I'm going a little bit further than I need to. Let's get, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Yeah, and you can read it off here. I think life easier for you, bro.
1 Peter chapter 5, we're going to read 6 to 9. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of the Most High, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour, whom resisted steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world.
Right, so it says the devil and his representatives are always there, especially when you begin to think more like Christ and operate in a clean way of living. The world itself is set up to destroy attempts at living a clean life And we must recognize that Christ also had to have that same preparedness to actively pursue righteousness because the devil is always looking for a way to take us down, right? And one of the greatest stories that I think where this stood out to me is in the story of Gideon, right? And for time's sake, I'm just not going to go there. But if you guys remember the story of Gideon, and I hope I'm speaking about the right judge, but he was told by the Most High to cut down the idol or the grove of Baal Pure, I believe, right? And he cut down the altar. And when he cut down the altar, the people of Israel were like, okay, who cut down the altar to Baal Pure, right? And then eventually some men in Israel were like, okay, you know what? We're not going to kill Gideon. Make Baal fight for him. Baal would defend himself, right? But what really got me when I read that is based off Ezekiel doing that, the Philistines, all the other nations were assembling to now come and attack Gideon. So what does that show us? That shows us that when one wakes up, who can see? The spirits, the angels that are ruling the nations, that are overseeing this, they wake up and they say, hold on. We got one that can see. The world stops. Because that is the ultimate threat to the world. And I saw that, I said, hold on, why is something that's happening in Israel? Israel's saying, okay, let's cut down that grove. Why is that a threat to the Assyrians? Why is that a threat to the Philistines? When you look at us now saying, oh, we're Israel, why is that so threatening to the world? If you notice, we could have been anything else. When we're Rockland, they didn't matter. Right? When we turned Muslim, they didn't matter. When we were zealous Christians, they didn't matter. But the minute we say, you know what? We're the people of the Bible. Oh, no, no, brother. We got a problem there. In fact, when you find history, especially early in American history, anyone who said that, they put bounties on their heads, right? You know the story of, and I'm bad, I need Zahar for these names because Zahar remembers all these leaders' names. But if you go into a lot of the stories, I use Nat Turner. He's one that stands out, but there's one that story is even more in depth, and they put like, just say, $1 million bounties, and this is like in the 1700s, $1 million bounty on his head because he was going around teaching the slaves that they are the children of God. Showing you how threatening. That's his name. What's his name again? Gabriel Prosser. That's his name. That's the brother there. Right? So we can understand that, they seeing us waking up is the most threatening thing. Right? Because back then it was just one brother. Now they're like, hold on, we got fire over here, fire over here, fire over here, fire over here, and we can't out all of these fires. The Spirit's moving. You want to say something, sis?
I'm thinking in this moment about in the book, that Babylon to Timbuktu book. It talks about, not this specifically, but I remember reading that, like even when they were bringing forth like the Sunday Christianity and stuff, and there were still those that kept the Sabbath and all those things, and they were not conforming into those times. I don't want to say they put like a bounty, but I remember reading that they basically gathered and shipped them off somewhere.
Yeah, I know there was cases of that as well.
You don't want to oblige? All right, they ship them off.
I know in the Roman Empire, they definitely did that, especially under Constantine when he made that banner and whatnot. Anybody who didn't sign that universal agreement on how Christianity would be, they were either killed or they were exiled out of the Roman Empire, right? So that's one example I could think of. They just started kicking people out. They said, okay, we can't have the Jews around us, so we're going to kick them out. But all those things was to silence the truth, right? This is where censorship happened. This is where what they call the Renaissance happened, and the Renaissance is rebirth. Is really to reestablish the lie of the Roman Empire, right?
Deacon, 1 second. When
When the Roman Empire fell, yeah, they classified that time period as the Dark Ages. But what really happened is you had a divided Roman kingdom. You had Israelites on one side ruling, and you had the Romans ruling on the other side, right? But that's a different topic in itself, right? But let me read this again. So it says the devil and his representatives are always there, especially when you begin to think more like Christ and operate in a clean way of living. The world itself is set up to destroy attempts at living a cleaner life, and we must recognize that Christ also had to have that same preparedness to actively pursue righteousness, because the devil is always looking for a way to take us down. Now, I'm going to say, even with this walk, you know what I mean? I think many of us, we were on what we knew as the Christian path. We believed in Christ. But the minute now we started to see the Bible as it is written, challenges became a little bit more real. People who we thought would be encouraged with our, I'm going to say, desire to know the Most High even more. You would think we would have got, some support, some boost, something, but the more we start opening up, the more it's like, you need to get out of our church now. Some of us experienced that. The more we start asking questions about righteous things, it's like you're asking too much questions. And I say this why? Because I said the more our eyes started to open, the world around it tried to do everything to get us back to sleep. And some of the cases is that even some of the closest people around us, whether they knew it or not, the adversary was trying to use to let us go back into that dormant sleep mode, right? Whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be our spiritual leaders, all of them was like, nothing to see here, go back to sleep. Or, certain friends is like, you're changing and there's something different about you. Now, I'm trying to learn God. I want to know the Most High more. That's what's changing about me. But you know what I mean? So I'm just saying there's so many things that, whether they know it or not, force is working that tries to get us to stop serving the Most High or stop pursuing this path. Then there's the trials. We get attacked more. As we serve the Most High more, we deal with attacks. And the Most High says, those who come to serve the Most High, prepare yourself for temptation. But then we go through the temptations, and for us that don't understand that battle, the fact that we're fighting against spiritual forces, a lot of them say, well, ever since I started following this way, it's getting harder. And when I was following the God of this world, they don't see it as the God of this world, but when I was following Christianity prior, everything was okay. My friends liked me more, and the world liked me more, And I think because I'm getting punished, because I'm following the wrong God now. I've seen that happen to people, right? Without the proper discernment. Now, I've seen a hand up. A few hands up. Sister Anisha, you want to see that? No. Okay. But let's continue. Let's get Matthew chapter 4, verse 1.
Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Elder Khan, when you're there. Matthew 4, verse 1. Then was Yeshua led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterwards an hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of the Most High, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of the Most High. Then the devil taken him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple. And he saith unto him, If thou be the Son of the Most High, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Yeshua said unto him, It is written again, Thou shalt not tempt the Most High thy power. Again, the devil taketh him up unto an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then said Yeshua unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. The devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him.
Right? So we see here, even Christ was in a powerful spiritual state. Satan still attempted to tempt him so he could see him fall like Adam. Now, if Satan still attempted to go after Christ, how much more on our guard should we be while operating in such a world where Satan is around almost every corner, right? So we see Christ being in a spiritual state, fasting for 40 days, spiritual man on, let's say, times 10, 10x. Satan still said, let's try him, let's test him, right? And many of us, I mean, I think about, as we come into the truth, right? We get that desire to know the Most High, even though there's spirit forces that's trying to change that direction. Finally, we're on that spiritual high. We get baptized. We're on that spiritual high. And I'm saying Christ was on that spiritual high, and yet the adversary still came to him and tried him. So we have to understand that when we're on our spiritual high, because we ain't no higher than Christ, he's going to do everything to try to take us from that spiritual plane. He's going to send or try to do everything. And the thing that I have to ask us, or the thing that I'm more trying to highlight is, do we see it for what it is when it's happening? Because a lot of times we don't. So how does this look? Well, I'm on my spiritual high. I'm feeling good. I've been consistent in my walk and whatnot. And then guess what? Somebody says something to you at work, and it rubbed you the wrong way. And then you want to say something to them now. Did you pass that test or did you fail that test? Say, well, I failed that test, Deacon. Right? Or, I'm driving on the road and, I'm just so many different examples, right? But I'm saying that, do we see it, even when we fall for it? Do we look back and say, you know what, Satan? You got me this time, but not the next time. Do we do that? Or do we just say, oh, my back? And we never see the adversary. We see what we did, but we never see the adversary for what he did. And that's the discernment that we need to have. Because guess what? You know what's happening right now? We just read how Satan's going around like a roaring lion, destroying who he may destroy. And I'm telling you, family, when I look at the news and seeing what's going on, I see Satan and his minions working overdrive now. We're living in a time period where son killing brother, sons killing fathers and families. You guys seeing these news articles coming up? And I'm saying to myself, look at that. I never thought I'd be living in a time where a man, especially an Israelite, right, will take a firearm and kill his own family. This is the time that we're living in. I know one scenario, all friends catch up in an argument. One friend didn't know how to resolve the argument. Said, you know what? I'm going to check you. I'm going to check this guy. Check the guy. They get into an argument. 2 dead. 1 on the run. So the demon, the spirit, is causing havoc. And as a result, because no one sees it for what it is, 2 dead, 1 on the run. And it happens over and over and over again, and nobody says, Satan, you're in the mix, right? You want to say something?
Like, do you hear, I mean, in general, like, office talk, you'll hear people say so much has changed now, and things are so different now. And I remember, I think it was last year, a lot of this, well, I don't know if it's a lot, but a few schools in Mississauga, a teacher had written like an anonymous letter about how she feared for her life and how bad the children were in the school. And it came out on the news, so and even when Ariel tells me some stories, like just the little ones who are under 12 and how they're behaving in the household, and the teachers are afraid of them or won't go to work or going on sick leave, like that rampantness of the youth just out of control. Or parents, like where I'm working now, you know, they need services for children that are just out of control, hitting them and can't behave, but we're talking satanic behavior, not even just bad behavior, just wicked spirited children who are under 12. So it's like, which normal person, even if they're atheist, can't see something's going on? What's in the air? You hear people say, something's in the air. You know what I mean?
I mean, because they don't know what to classify it as.
Yeah, they don't know what to classify.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, as
But
a spiritual warfare, yeah.
But we know what's in the air. We know there's entities and there's spirits and they're wreaking havoc. But you're right. The youth say they can sense something's different, right? And I think our people, we can sense something's different, but we can't identify it. Sorry, you want to say?
No, so you're giving the example of Yeshua being tempted by Satan and whether we don't attribute some of the things going on to Hashatan, right? And I was thinking, yeah, like sometimes, like in our case, we don't go to family gatherings anymore because most of those gatherings were related to pagan festivities. And because of our zeal to share the word in the past, we've been put apart, right? So just even in the walk, for those who are here or not here online, even when the family has isolated you and you're kind of just have maybe the body and you and your immediate family, and let's say the job is fine and there's no issue at the job and you don't have road rage, that Hashatan will still come on you and try to prey on your weakness, even in the quietness of your home.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe even like for me, it could be my inner doubts, my own inner fears or a struggle with my faith. So I may not have nothing. I don't visit all the family who don't want to invite me. I can handle the job. If somebody flipped me a bird on the highway, I'm good. I'm gonna leave you. Your time will come. But then in the quietness of your home,
Yeah.
whatever else personally you're going through, he coming for you when you're by yourself.
100%. 100%. And I like how you painted that, right? Because there's so many different areas. We'll be like, oh, I'm good there. But, not see, well, he's also trying to operate in my home as well, right? And that's one of the things that I tell the brothers. I say, you know what? Sometimes because, husband and wife, they're going to have times where things are not as they should be. And we're at disagreements and whatnot. But, one of the things I say is that will one of us be able to stop the adversary from wreaking havoc in our home, right? So one of us has to be spiritually suited up and say, here what? I see what Satan's trying to do right now, and he's trying to get between me and my wife. So here what? We're not going to allow that. Honey, let's talk, let's deal with it, whatnot, but I'm not making the adversary destroy us, because usually that's how it happens. Usually what happens is an offense happens or a disagreement happens, and then we're both isolated, right? I'm in a little room, whatever, and whatnot, right? Or for some people, I'm out the house. I'd rather just be outside the house. And then slowly what he starts to do is just starts to plant seeds. And then the gap goes further and further and further. And sooner or later, well, we don't love each other no more. And no one says, hold on, how did we get here? You see what I'm saying? Not understanding the adversary and his spirits were working to destroy that union that the Most High has brought together, right? A lot of us, we don't see it for what it is. We're blinded by the anger, by the feelings, the emotions and whatnot, and not being able to separate and see the spiritual side of these things, right? But here we see this with Christ. Now, going back to that threat, was Christ a threat to the establishment? I would say 100%, right? Because we know Christ was coming back to bring forth the truth of the law, how it should have been kept. So that means prior to Christ's coming back, guess what? Israel was operating in confusion. Israel was being manipulated by these spirits, by these entities, right? Now I always bring this up. I always say when Israel came out of Egypt, one understanding, one God, one law. By the time it comes to Christ, you have 4 different understandings, right? Did the Most High bring forth confusion? No. But that was the adversary. And that's why when Christ came, and he tried to stop him from reestablishing that truth. Once he couldn't stop Christ, he said, okay, guess what? I got to go out and make more lies, right? But let's continue. Let's get James chapter 4, verse 4.
James chapter 4, verse 4, and we're going from down 4 to verse 8. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with the Most High? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of Ahia. Do you think that the scripture saith in vain, the spirit that dwelleth in us lusteth to envy? But he giveth more grace. Wherefore he saith, the Most High resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to Ahia. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to Ahia, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded.
All right, so it says, in order to beat the devil, we must resist the devil. So when we look at Christ, Christ was able to resist the devil. Eventually, the devil had to flee from him, right? It says, resistance is not a passive thing. We must submit ourselves to the Most High by not living a life of being passive, so to speak, right? We must begin to hear the word, hear the Most High's words, and follow through with living our lives according to his knowledge instead of the knowledge we gain from this wicked world. Let us see another example of the adversary and his endless battle to resist righteousness and truth, right? So let's look at this for a second. So one of the things we have to understand is knowing that friendship with the world is enmity, or being friends of this world makes us allies against the powers that are fighting against the Most High. Let me kind of word it again. Being friends of the world makes us enemies against the Most High, right? Do we understand that?
That's a good point.
Right? And I say this because we read these things, we know these things, but do we understand this? And I say this why? And not necessarily so much in the truth, but I think at times we struggle with this. But we see it more in the world, and I'm going to use the term modern-day Christianity, where we see modern-day Christians, and I'm using that word loosely, or I'll just use that word. What is their stance with the people of the world? Right, that's what it seems like. It seems like one love. We can go to the same parties. We can, you see what I'm saying? There's no real difference between the two, right? You know, you want to go to the Grammys, well, I'll go to the Grammys too. You know what I mean? You want to go to the after parties, I'll go to the after parties too. You know, you want to go to the, you know, the parties. You know, you can't go to the parties too. No, I'm saying that like that. I'm trying to speak in code, but when I hear a Christian say, yo, I was at those parties too. I'm like, what? There's certain places that we don't need to be at all, right? But he was like, and I'm saying this why? Because in his eyes, it's like, I didn't do no wrong. I went to the party, but I didn't partake in what was going on, right? But then, you know, it's like, what side of the fence are you on? And that's the part sometimes I think we can struggle with, especially, I'm going to say, especially the younger generation, we can struggle with, you know, I want to be cool and part of it, but I realize, you know, at the same time, you know, we struggle with that. We're playing hopscotch where, I'm good right now with the world, and then I'm good with the Most High, and that's something where we struggle with. Or better yet, I'm saying so there's times where we involve ourselves in things in the world, not seeing them for what they really are, right? And so what I mean by trends of the world. Anybody ever follow a trend of the world? I think, are we still following trends of the world? That's what I should ask. It could be dressing. It could be, everyone right now is pro this or pro that, and I'm gonna put that hashtag on my Facebook, I'm pro, you know what I mean? Or, we aligned ourselves with certain philosophies, certain mindsets and whatnot, we're not. And I'm saying by doing that at times, we gotta be careful because we are aligning ourselves up with the ways of the world, the mindset of the world, right? So we gotta be careful of certain things. But even with fashion, you gotta be careful with that. Because sometimes, like for instance, with the whole brothers wearing kilts and all these things, not understanding that some of these fashion actually go back to worshiping of deities and stuff like that, where they get you involved in those things unawarely. You didn't even know, right? So these are things we gotta be careful of, right? What are the origin of these things? What are these things? Because, you'll find that a lot of things, when you check out the origin of them, they're dealing with other gods, right? So in order to beat the devil, we must resist the devil. Resistance is not a passive thing. We must submit ourselves to the Most High by living a life of passivity. Hope I'm saying that word right. We must begin to hear the Most High's words and follow through with living our lives according to his knowledge instead of the knowledge we gain from this wicked world, right? So our whole mindset has to change. Let us see another example of the adversary and his endless battle against the righteous and truth. Let's get Daniel chapter 10, verse 8. So this is where I was talking about earlier with Daniel, but let's get this.
Daniel chapter 10, we're doing 8 to 14? 8 to 14. Are you there, say Khan? Therefore, I was left alone and saw this great vision, and there remained no strength in me. For my comeliness was turned into me into corruption, and I retained no strength. Yet heard I the voice of his words. And when I heard the voice of his words, then was I in a deep sleep on my face, and my face towards the ground. And behold, a hand touched me, which set me upon my knees and upon the palms of my hands. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright. For unto thee I am now sent. And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself before the Most High, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the later days, for yet the vision is for many days.
Right, so here we look at it and we see Satan and his minions at the height of an empire will look to uphold an empire even when the decree went forth for that from the Most High, that it was time for the next ruling empire to soon come. Daniel waited on the Most High for spiritual insight and found understanding, but it took a while because the adversary was once again causing confusion and holding up the process. We must be prepared in patience as well, because through humility and obedience, the Most High gives insight to the prophets, and it is no different today. So how does this look? Well, the Most High begins to open our eyes, and we're more looking for understanding. And the adversary is doing everything to prevent this understanding from coming your way, right? Whether it's distractions, because that's another tactic that he uses, distractions. And sometimes you'll be following these distractions so much down this whole road of conspiracies and all these different things. And while you're doing that, the adversary has another hand moving over here doing things that actually really matter. So, if we look at the time that we're in right now, remember I talked about they're going to be giving people bread and circuit. And bread and circuit, basically, what the Romans did, they made distractions so people wouldn't understand the empire is about to fall, right? And that's what they're doing now. Celebrity here, you know the celebrity that they're dealing with right now. Every day there's a new conspiracy. Every day there's a new report of something else. There's somebody else that's coming out and whatnot. And while that's going on, what's happening in the Middle East, not as much people are paying attention to. The fact that the armies and other armies are now assembling and saying, hey, we're taking a part in this. Very few people are paying attention to that. The storms that are going on right now, I think there was a storm recently, and there's no it wasn't a storm. Huh? No, not the hurricane. There was another chemical plant that went up in Georgia. And they're like, the byproduct of that, a tablespoon of that, can kill the world. I'm like, hold on, a tablespoon of that, this is what they said, can kill the world. And I'm saying, how much tons of that just went into the atmosphere? So right now they got people in Georgia and whatnot. I said, I got a call family down there checking and whatnot, that's coughing up blood. Has anyone heard about this news report? Very few of us. It's not mainstream, what I'm saying. Right? So while these things are happening in real time, they're just giving us distractions to keep us looking this way when we really need to be looking this way. Right? And don't get me wrong, I'm keeping it's kind of like I'm watching here, but I know what they're doing. I know what they're doing. So I'm also keeping a watch. So I'm looking over, I'm glimpsing over here, but I'm really focusing on over here, what they're doing over here. Because what they're doing over here links into prophecy. This is a distraction, and it's a takedown, whatnot, right? But do we see it that way? Or are we just constantly distracted, being led from one distraction to another distraction? Because if you notice, it always seems like there's something new to keep us distracted, so to speak. It feels like from the beginning of the year, even going back to last year, there's always something to just make us look over here, right? Let's get Isaiah chapter 58, verse 6.
Isaiah chapter 58, verse 6. We're going on to verse 9. Is it not this, the fast that I have chosen, to loose the band of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens? And lo, let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke? Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out of thy house? When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh? Then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thine health shall spring forth speedily, and thy righteousness shall go before thee. The glory of the Most High shall be thy reward. Then shall thou call, and the Most High shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say, Here I am. If thou...
What verse?
Verse 9.
Yeah, what?
If thou take away from the midst of thee the yoke, the putting forth of the finger, and speaking vanity.
And speaking vanity, right? So these are things that we still do. The pointing of the finger, speaking vanity, speaking about things that really and truly are of this world, that are not really beneficial to us. And this is something, as I said, the adversary will like to keep us at. But the reality is that we've been called and we have a purpose and we've been called to fight this battle. And this battle is that we let that light that's been given to us, that we allow it to shine in order to free the prisoners, to free those that have lost hope, to re-establish the fallen tabernacles of Jacob that have fallen. So I'm saying family, and I'm speak with the brothers. If we took 10 of us and said, brothers, let's go outside. Let's get to work. How confident are we? All right? And I say that why? Because we part of this battle, and I remember it's always been the case, especially in the early days, brothers had a zeal to know the Bible, to know precepts, to not only to know it, but also to teach it. Every brother was suited up, booted up, ready to go. Now, there's other things we probably lacked back then. It was probably faith and whatnot, but every brother was suited up, booted up, ready to go. I mean, brothers were sparring with themselves at home. That's how in tune brothers were. Brothers were have their Bible at home, practicing, writing stuff down, being sharp, because they understood that the whole goal was for us to win souls, to free the oppressed, to free those that are still spiritually bound. Have we lost that zeal, brothers? Right? And I say that why? Because I enjoy chilling. I enjoy fellowshipping. But is fellowshipping making us lose sight of the battle ahead? Because that's what we should be preparing ourselves for. Right? Sorry, I see hands up.
I was wondering if the people want to be free, because the one or two friends I have left in the world, they don't like these conversations, that are wholesome and filled with the truth or what's going on in the times. Whenever I share things, did you hear about this? No, they're either at a cottage or they're gone to wine tasting or that Niagara Falls or the latest, Lion King is coming back to the theaters in the plays, Like, do the people want to be freed? Are we recognizing the power of the scripture, as it were in the days of Noah, so shall it be? Are we who are suited and booted recognizing that maybe it's going to be like that, where we're leaving our family behind and we have to just move forward, though we're suited and booted, maybe to keep those in the body strong? That is quite empty here, but I just don't know if I don't want to be free. I've been wanting to say that for weeks, but
Today is a good time to say. We pick on people. We'll pick on them today. Yeah.
But where are suited and booted brothers and sisters? Okay, some have some challenges, whether it's vehicles, whether it's jobs, but we gotta, this suited and booted has to start at home. But the people outside, I don't know if they want to be freed from it. They want to be in Sodom having fun, watching those shows and wine tasting and, going on mud races and.
I agree with that. I agree with you. We know not everyone will be saved, but my thing is like you said. It's like you said. If we were to say, brothers, let's go out and win souls, can we even use our swords? Are we, what I mean? Are we even thinking about these things to get mentally ready for that battle? And you'll find that majority of us are not doing that as we used to do that. And to me, that's a problem. Because when we look at the nations and whatnot, guess what? When it's kind of time to do their pagan festivals, everyone's there. Everyone's zealous. Everyone plays their part. You know what I mean? You wouldn't even know by the time they're done, they had all arguments and there was divisions and because they make their priorities, their policies, whatever they want to put forward, they make sure that it happens. And they're on one accord making it happen. And I'm finding that with us, it's like sometimes it's like we got to pull ears, we got to pull teeth, and I'm saying, didn't we not all sign up for this battle? Right? So we have to get more serious with this battle ahead. And I'm saying this why? Because guess what? I think of, like for instance, okay, being a soldier, so to speak. Not that I am a soldier. I just watch a lot of soldier films, right? So let me throw that out there. But as a soldier, you're thinking about every scenario. Every scenario that you are in, You are thinking about it, prepared for it. Nothing should really catch you off guard. And you know what I mean? That's the mindset that you should have being a soldier. So how does this look? Well, I'm going to this event, but guess what? I need my little 22. And you know, this is what I consider. I consider this, you know, I'm trying to use political correct terms, but you guys bear with me today. This right here is my assault rifle. This, any battle I'm going to, I have my weapon with me, right? Because think about it, if I'm going in a battle and I don't have my rifle, what am I going into the battle, right? Now, I can't bring this to every event that I go to. I can't bring this to work, I can't bring this, but guess what? I have a next one now, and I call this one Betsy. And Betsy now, everywhere I go, she's in the shoe, she's in, you know, the back pocket. You know, I could do concealed carry. But my point is, everywhere I go, Betsy, or my sword, is with me. I'm always prepared to share the word of the Most High wherever I go. And you know what, family? You'll be surprised. I told you I went to a wedding. I went to a wedding and I said to myself, I'm not saying nothing. I didn't come here. I'm not coming here to the wedding that I got invited to now do a sermon here. I'm just coming for Bible. Simon said and done. I got a family member. We're going to speak about the Bible all night. I said, this brother thought I came unprepared. Pulled out Betsy. 5 precepts. By the time I gave him 5 precepts, the brother's like, all right, we'll do this another time. But that's what I'm saying, family. We have to have that mindset that, yo, no matter where I'm at, I'm in the barber shop. They're speaking about the Most High. Betsy, come in. I'm always prepared to fight this battle. That's the mindset we need to think about that. And if we're not there, then how do we get there? And you'll find that the military, what they say dry firing, meaning you're practicing at home. You're thinking about what you're going to say, scenarios they may be in, and you're preparing for that to make you more effective for the war. No military, without training, every military will train for what they're about to do. So are we training? And if we're not, then we're sleeping soldiers, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm hoping you guys, my terminology wasn't, anyways, go ahead.
It was good, but
Yeah.
what I see is, for myself personally, and as my wife says, we're very isolated. I'll tell you the reason why. I'll give you a perfect example. My family, by my mother's side, one of my sister called me up and said, hey, we're going to go to Boston to meet one of our aunts. Never met her before. And I said, yeah, I'll run with you all. And all of a sudden, she texted me, never call me, said that they're not going no more. Come to find out, they went. So, me and my wife discussed, and said, the only reason why they didn't ask you to come, it's going to be a road trip, and then no, you're going to bring up scripture. And they're not going to like it. So to avoid that, being the troublemaker that I am, just leave this guy. We have everything in common. So the point I'm trying to make is, as the scripture says, if you are enemy of the world, they're not gonna like you. And you gotta get to that. Enemy of the world. They're not gonna be your friend.
So,
and these are family members.
Yeah.
Now go back to here. I like this place now because we have everything in common, and when I see this place empty like this, it bothers me. Because now we're supposed to be growing together. And I remember when I came to this place the first time, it was full, just after the COVID. And I think a lot of people come here after the COVID because they saw something was happening and they didn't know what. And they prayed to the Most High and they lead them here. But as soon as everything starts to relax and they can't go to the movies, they can't go there, they can't go. Oh, Sabbath day, I don't need to come here no more. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Well, that goes back into, as I said, being friends of the world, right?
Yes,
You know what I
that's
mean?
the point I'm trying to make. No, so sometimes when you say, you know, arm yourself, sometimes it's not that we don't want to do the work. The family members that know us, and your friend that knows us. Like, for example, I don't have no friends outside this assembly. None.
No, kind of let me shed some light on that. But let's shed some light on that, right? Now, at the same time too, right? Because there's always, I'm going to say, two sides to the equation. And I say that, why? Because I know, like, for instance, when I used to share the word, you know, I was kind of like, you know, are you mad at me because I told you the truth? My approach wasn't the smoothest, or it wasn't, you know, very my way or the highway type of mindset. Not saying that that's the case there, but I'm saying in these scenarios, could it possibly be that the spirits that they can't see is putting the ideal in their mind that maybe they don't need to have you around because they're going to be speaking about the Bible? And I'm saying that why? Because it's so easy, for instance, to see what the individual's doing, but are you able to see what the spirits are doing? So, you know, I'll give you an example. Both spiritual people, right? But the minute I start reading the Bible, like in some cases I've experienced this, where sometimes we're having spiritual discussion and we're all Sabbath keepers, whatnot, and we're talking. And the minute I start saying stuff in the scripture, you just see a person's face start to change. And it's like they get angry. And I'm like, why are you getting angry? We're just reading the scriptures. But I'm saying, I stop looking at them and more start looking at the spirit that's manipulating them to make them feel the way they're doing, the way they feel.
Yeah, I do get that, but the point I'm trying to make is that it's not that I don't understand that. The point is sometimes it just feel like I'm not getting that chance. They close that. So I can't go to my family members and go talk to them if they don't want to be around me. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
If they decide to distance themselves from me, you know. Give an example. We had a family reunion.
Well, hold on. I don't want all the examples. I don't want to say some of the example.
Yeah, family.
But my thing is, this is my thing is, right? Because there's so many different dilemmas in these scenarios and whatnot. But I'm saying, where does that leave you? And I say that why? Because a lot of times when we deal with scenarios like that, it now makes us bitter.
No, I'm not bitter. I am not bitter one bit.
Right.
Because I think you have to understand, what I'm doing is out of love.
Yeah.
I want to see them, especially when I know we are the true people of the Most High. I want them to recognize that and come back to the faith, because the whole Bible is about the restoration of Israel. You understand? And if Israel don't restore, this world is going to continue in wickedness. So I'm trying to do my part. But the bottom line is, I have to speak to my family first.
Yeah.
Yes, and people that are close around me that I know. But
So if they invite you out tomorrow,
yes.
you go.
If what?
If they invite you out tomorrow.
Yes, yeah, of course, all the time.
Okay.
All the time.
All right, then. I'm just checking where we are in terms of that.
Ask my wife. I'm one of the guys who don't never hold grudges. See, sometimes you get mad at me all the time because you said to me, these people just cuss you out and then you say you're not going to go back there and then 2 minutes as they call you there.
But I'm saying that's, to some degree, that's the heart we need to have. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say to some degree. Not to say we can be fully gullible, but to some degree, that's the mindset that we have to have, because we understand that, you know, one of the spirits that we're dealing with the most is the spirit of ignorance, of just not knowing. And the worst part about it is that not knowing, but thinking we know. See what I'm saying? So a lot of people will say, well, I know about spiritual matters, but then when you question them, they really don't know about spiritual matters. And you know what I mean? We have to be able to understand and say, okay, here what? I'm not fighting against them personally, but I'm dealing with the whole spirit of ignorance, of not knowing, of lies, deception that they've embodied. And that's what we have to kind of tear down, so to speak, right? But I see a few hands up, and let me get a few hands up, and then we'll go back to Lynn. But let me start at the back, and then we'll move further up. Yes, Sister Lanisha, sorry.
So for me, like I've shared my testimony with a number of people that they know. So like, I didn't come from religion. I came from just the word, right? And so for me to know who I am and who we are, and I think that it's an amazing thing that the Most High has chosen to remove the scales from my eyes, right? And I just think about like the energy that I had when I was in the room standing up for worldly things, not even knowing like it's abomination, right? The energy that I had was like, yo, you can't tell me nothing. So my motto for myself is, yo, the same energy when I was in the world and I was standing up for wickedness, that's the same energy, if not more, I'm gonna have for righteousness' sake. The only difference is the delivery. Because for me back then it was, yo, I don't care how you feel. Get mad if you want, I'm telling you A, B, and C with causes that goes in between. But now I understand that the delivery does make a difference, because I can speak about biblical truth and still have the F's and the B's and all these things, and that completely defeats
the purpose.
Defeats the purpose. So I understand that I keep that energy in terms of the zeal, and this is what the word says, scripture A, B, and C, but the delivery is what's important. And that I think that that's something that all of us should keep, or should like keep in the back of our mind. It's like, we can't be quiet and hush hush now that we are choosing to fall. We have been awakened to see the Bible for what it really is, right? We still need to be able to speak that truth, because some of us are called to be just seed planters, and that's okay. And even like situation where Alton and Sister Zari is talking about with their family members, how they're shining them because they're speaking the truth. You're talking the truth, but yo, you can just be that seed planter, and when the Most High deems worthy, He's gonna germinate that seed. I remember
on His time,
and Nariah, but it's not about when it's you. It's Him when He says, okay, now I'm gonna remove the scales, and they're gonna remember. And I struggled with that with my family, especially as of recently. But I understand exactly the very first scripture you talk about today. It's not them, it's the spirits that they're dealing with that's oppressing them, and we can't see it. But when you understand that, that's when that grace,
100%.
long suffering and fruits of the spirit can.
See, I like how you said that too, because it's really key we understand this. And I say this why, because some of us have been prophesying to our families forever. And some of them are just coming around just now. And some of them have been here with us. When many of us, we thought there would be no way they would be in this building with us. But the Most High found a way. So we know it's not impossible. In fact, we were once there as well. Being part of this world, going through the course of this world, and yet the Most High was able to pull us out of that. And, for me, understanding where I was at, that's why I will have so much sympathy to pull people out of that pit, because I was once in that pit as well. You know what I mean? So, Khan, you want to say something?
No, mine's just around what I find two challenges. Is I'm in the Word, I'm reading it, but the retention and recall is where I find the challenge. So if I have opportunity, which whenever I do have opportunity, I talk about the Most High, we are the people, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, what's happening in this world. But then when I get into conversations with individuals that know the Bible inside and out, and quoting scriptures word for word, that's where I find is my challenge in be able to recall this quickly. So even though you call it Betsy, I'll try and scramble and look things up, but I don't do it quick enough because they're just talking very fast. So what would you suggest for those of us that do take those opportunities but necessarily can't recall? Because I'm always praying the Most High will help give me retention and recall, right? So that in those moments, and I've seen where Walk has given me words at that time, but I also see areas where, oh my goodness, I start to feel intimidated, or it's overwhelming because it's really quick, and I know the answers, but I just can't pinpoint the precepts at that point in time, right? So that's the one. And then for me, growing up in the Christian church and being groomed, I was be a pastor in the church. So I did that. Now that I understand the place of a woman within the church, I struggle because I have a lot of friends, male friends from high school, and that I still, but we have conversations. So I struggle with not wanting to cross the line as well as a woman trying to tell a man about scripture. So do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like
Yeah.
it's the two, for me, those are the two struggles that I have.
And I would say this, sis, because I understand that, especially coming from, sister, and dealing with the extreme where you have pastors, women pastors, and understanding the Bible doesn't support that. But we're in a battle right now. And I'm saying part of that battle, we got to win souls. So guess what? If I got a sister that can win a soul to bring the brother here, to be taught here, yeah, exactly. You see what I'm saying? But guess what? On the flip side, you know what the adversary will do? He'll send women to bring them to misguide men, to bring them to his parties, where now he can blackmail, blackmail them, get them caught up in compromising scenarios and whatnot. So guess what? We got sisters that are comfortable that can share the word, bring the brothers them here. We need warriors, we need soldiers, right? Imagine if Judah thought they felt that way. No, not me. I'll make somebody else go. Where's one of the men? We need to send out one of the men. And then that would be sin, because, one of the men them trying to, it's like, let me stop. Only Judas could have pulled off that mission, put it like that, right? So what I'm saying, though, is, sisters, we need you as well, right? So, we're not going to set you up here to be, leading the class, but you'll be surprised how sisters can be used to lead brothers into truth. And, I'm going to say, hey, the Most High used the woman to get me in his doors. And I use my wife as an example. I didn't grow up in a house that was in the church or whatnot. I had circumstances where I said, you know what, I'm coming to church every Sunday. I'm going to be in church regardless of what's going on. But I believe the Most High used that to eventually, I'm starting going to church with my wife. And then eventually he used that to bring me to his truth. But what I'm saying is that sometimes, he will use, your potential wife to lead you where he wants to go. You know what I mean? And I've seen that. I've seen brothers came here because of their wives. And then now, once they understood it for themselves, they're like, nah, I'm all in. I'm not here to support my wife no more. I'm all in. You know what I mean? So you have scenarios like that. But, there's a lot of other factors, and let me not go too far off the path, right? But the question is that we got to win souls, and we got to have the wisdom to go about in order to win those souls, right? But let's continue, and let's get James.
No, Colossians.
We're at Colossians. Let's get Colossians.
Colossians 2 and 8.
Let's get Colossians 2 and 8. Yes, brother?
Oh,
Not me, the sister up there.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sis.
So I just wanted to actually respond to Marcia as well. Is that we talked about Betsy? Are we referring to our phones?
No.
No, the Bible app.
So that's what I mean, right?
Yeah. The Bible app, or a pocket Bible, or whatever you got to bring the word in.
Like whenever, I'm sure we've all been in a situation where, like, it's always the same precept, like the same conversation that comes up about, well, why Sabbath church, or I can eat pork but pray over it. So what I can do is if I can't call someone, if I can't find it quick enough, some of these questions are shorter than sitting on the street to like people when you're bringing the truth. We have our phones. There's a notepad. Put those in there.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? So it's just like we're using it for everything else, but we should really use that because as like a little mini, like a reset book.
Yeah.
I do that because I know conversations come up about, as women, why should I cover my head? I know where to go. 1 Corinthians, I think it's 10, right? And then again, so my point is that we are also without excuse, and we shouldn't feel stuck in that moment.
Yeah.
When I'm stuck, I'm fortunate that I have my husband that to
Con.
hear the scriptures and take it from there.
Con,
Right?
con.
It doesn't have to be a debate either.
Con.
So that's just my 2 cents. Like,
And thank you for that, because I forgot that we kind of always see how distractions can work sometimes, right? Not saying you're distracted, so sorry. I mean, the next question just kind of pulled me where we overlooked that question, and like Sister Shar said, sorry sis, but like you said, right in that precept book, right? My response was going to be dry fire, which is the same ideal. And what I mean by that, writing these things down, and the more you're in that precept book, using that precept book, the more you become comfortable with those scriptures, where it just becomes repetitive, right? Because what you're doing is you're training your subconscious now to know those scriptures off of hand. But you got to just, as I said, be writing stuff down and using that, going back to that as that reference to become second nature, right? But that goes back to practicing, right? Thank you, though, for that, right? We had one more? Yes.
So as you were talking about spirit, knowing spirit,
Yeah.
I remember where the apostles were saying, how come we couldn't eat that? We're fasting and we're praying to deal with spirits. I remember I had to go see a client, and she was mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went to see her, she looked at me and said, you can't help me, this is spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that maybe whatever, like you know how in Jamaica we say, the spirit will take to them?
Mm-hmm.
Spirit recognizes spirit, and maybe we need to go back and prepare ourselves with fasting, praying, speaking to the Most High, to prepare ourselves to deal with it.
Well, yeah, that is definitely part of the battle, but at the same time, too, any soldier understands the battle that they're about to get deployed in. So, for instance, if I'm dealing with someone who's spiritual that's dealing with spiritual attacks and whatnot, then I understand, okay, what do we need to do? What did Christ say regarding this, right? Do we have to set a time aside for prayer and fasting and whatnot? So for every occasion, you know what I mean, you're going to kind of do an overview of what you're about to deal with, right? Say that again?
Those disciples didn't do it. They thought they could get rid of that spirit, but they couldn't.
Well, they had to learn that, right? But I'm saying, they didn't have the hindsight that we have with the scriptures right now, right? We have the blueprint where we can go in the book and say, okay, Christ says this and this and that, right? So kind of to add to that, yes, each battle we're going to have to understand, specific needs, specific battles. We're going to have to understand what to expect and how to prepare going into those battles. But I mean, the battle of sharing the word should be as common as a soldier just walking with his sword by his side. Whether you know how to probably use it, that's another thing. But it should be as common. Us going into our word and sharing the word should be a common thing that no matter what your rank is, you should be able to do. Right? And a scenario like that, sister says, okay, you can't help me spiritual and whatnot, then, I can go back in the playbook and say, okay, what's this? You're right. We're gonna get you the help you need, because we're gonna come spiritually suited to deal with this spiritual matter, because I understand what you're saying, right?
I said that in a nice way. It was like very demonic.
Yeah. Oh, the way how she said it. Yeah. But we know what we're fighting against. So at that time, I'm saying, here, what, demon? You're coming out of here. Christ said, you'll come out. You're coming out. You know what I mean? We have to understand. We have to build that confidence and understand the authority that's being given to us. Guess what? We can't say, demon, please come out of her. You see what I'm saying? We have to understand the authority that Christ has given us and say, yo, come out. No. Like, you know what I mean? We have to have that zeal and that boldness to demand these things. But if we're passive soldiers and whatnot, then are we dealing with faith, or are we timid soldiers for Christ? You see what I'm saying? Because when we look at the Christ and how he dealt with it, the demon was, please, please, Christ, send us into the pigs. They were pleading with him. Right? You have scenarios in the Bible where the apostles would just come up, just their presence alone, demons are trembling. So somewhere along the line, we lost that whole principle. and that whole authority, where guess what? Majority of us, guess what? If a demon coming out of the room right now, some of us are going to run. I guarantee you. Right? Some of us, you know, it's funny, and maybe I'm not using this, but it's like, you know, and I'm guilty of this too, but it's like a grown man, and you see a little mouse, and the grown man's like, ah! And it's running up and jump on the chair and whatnot. If we're operating like that in the spiritual realm, family, we got a lot to work on, right? Because technically, when the demons get loose, guess what we should be out there doing? Rebuking them. I say we are the real duppy killers. All right? We have to have that mindset. Say, yo, when it comes to duppy, you know, and I said this a while back. I said this years back. When it comes to demons and spirits, I say, you know, forgive me for quoting this, but I say, duppy know who for frighten. You see what I'm saying? And it's not me. So, you know, that's the mindset we need to have when it comes to demons and spirits. And don't get me wrong, you know, you have those time periods where you hear a noise and you're like, oh. But then, you know, we have to check ourselves and say, yo, Yeshaya, Ahaya. You know what I mean? We have moments like that, but our faith leads us to understand there's power in the Most High's name. There's power in certain things that we can do. We just need to harness that power now and get confident wielding it. Because as a family, the minute we do that, we're going to see demons flying out for people. I believe that, right? But let's continue. Let's get Colossians chapter 2, verse 18, and let's bring this lesson home. Because, let's get through the lesson. Let's get through the lesson. All right, Valley, we're going to get through the lesson. We're going to hold off on questions right now, but let's go.
Colossians chapter 2, verses 18, and I believe we're going down to 22.
Yes.
Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he has not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind, and not holding the head, from which all the body by joints and bands, having nourishment ministered, and knit together, increased with the increase of Most High. Wherefore, if ye be dead with Christ from the rudiments of the world, why, as though living in the world, are you subject to the ordinances? Touch not, taste not, handle not, which all are to perish with the usings after the commandments and doctrines of men.
Right, so one of the things we have to understand too is on this journey and as soldiers of Christ, it says, let no man beguile you. Let no man trick us of involuntary worshiping things that we should not worship, right? And it's funny because this world, that's what it's good at doing. It's good at hiding paganism and making it to the point where we don't see it for what it really is. So, I use one of the things we see, and I've seen this in like 3 different scenarios. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm misguided when I see this. But you ever see everyone have the ribbon and it's tied like in an 8 shape? And they use it for cancer victims. They use it, I'm seeing now they're also using it in Israel as the Israel deliverance, or I seen Netanyahu, he had it on as well. And I'm like, hold on, one's for cancer, one's for what's going on in Israel, and the Christians too have one as well that they put on the back of their cars as a sticker. They just turn it to the side though, like a fish, right? But a lot of people now involuntarily say, no, I'm in support of women's cancer, preventing women's cancer. And then they put on the ribbon. And not knowing, well, that ribbon's actually linked to fish worship. Right? Dagon, the fish god. Right? Or sometimes we do the poppy. And they're giving out poppies at work. I'll just put on a poppy. Not knowing that that day is actually representation of the dead spirits that guard Satan. Like all these things are linked to pagan rituals. And yet, because I said we don't know these things, so guess what? I'll wear a poppy here, I'll put one on my heart. You know how we do it, right? That's how we do it. But I'm saying we get caught up in all these different things. And you know the thing is, even the things I thought was ours, it's not ours. And I spoke about this before, and I said I know we will not do too much talking. We're gonna go through the lesson, right? Bun and cheese. Good Friday. I thought that was ours. I thought that was a Caribbean thing. Until I seen a Portuguese come and work with bun on Good Friday. I said, hold on. Their bun's a little bit different than ours. But nonetheless, he had the bun with the eggs in it and da-da-da-da. And I'm saying, hold on, Portuguese, you guys do this too. We once thought carnival was ours. Right? Who can carnival like black people? Till we find out in the Greek Empire, they were serving the god Bacchus. So all the years we're innocent, saying, nah, man, I gotta go back now, we just want to wind up. You know what I mean? Not knowing we were involuntarily worshiping another god. We just thought we were just going to go to a party and have a good time. And this is a lot of the things that are happening in the world where we think, oh no, it's just a good time. Let's just have fun. And by partaking in them, we're actually part of the agenda, part of the ritual, right? So we got to be careful of these things. We must realize that as long as we partake in the foolishness of the world, no matter how small, we are still not complete in Christ. If we are not complete, then we are like an infected or injured body part that ultimately may affect the entire body if healing does not happen, right? Let's get Jubilees chapter 10, and we're going to go 1 to 9. This is in the book of Jubilee.
Jubilees chapter 10, verse 1.
Right? Now, another ways of checking if we can function without part of the world is try to do a phone fast. Try to do a media fast. Try to do, whatever you kind of indulge in that is kind of a source from the world, try to separate yourself from it. And I say this why? Because, one of the things, and including myself, when the world shuts down, how are we going to cope without these things? Can we cope without these things? Let's get it? The book of Jubilee.
And in the third week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to err and destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons' sons. And he prayed before the Lord his power and said, God of the spirits of all flesh, who has shown mercy unto me and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and has not caused me to perish as thou didst the sons of perdition. For thy grace has been great towards me, and great has been thy mercy to my soul. Let thy grace be lifted up upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth. But do thou bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. And thou knowest how thy watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation, and let them not bring destruction on the sons of thy servant. My power For these are malignant and created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the spirits of living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth and forevermore. And the Most High our God bade us to bind all. And the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Lord Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I shall say unto them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption, and leading astray before my judgment, for great is the wickedness of the sons of men. And he said, let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. And as one of us he commended that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness, nor strive in righteousness.
All right, so we see the Nephilim, whereby Satan and his other rebels created to be an unstable, murderous creation to destroy all mankind. The demons, which came forth at the death of the Nephilim, were even more of a threat because now we can't see them, and it becomes easy to forget them, forget that they are wreaking havoc in every aspect of life, including the disease that people contract, right? So, and we're talking about this, when we look at what's going on in the news and whatnot, we're seeing, some senseless killings and whatnot. Are we looking at this the same way Noah looked at this? Where Noah's saying, hey, you know what? Satan has been letting loose. The spirits are letting loose. Father, help us, because these spirits, they're only going to destroy us all, right? As I said, many of us, that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the individuals and not being able to have the spiritual eyes to see the spiritual forces working in the mix, right? Let's get Genesis chapter 3, verse 14.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 14. And the Most High of Power said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days.
So this is where the battle began. Go on.
And dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life.
Right, go on.
And I shall put enmity between thee and thy woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his head.
Right, so it says since the beginning of man's fall, there was a battle, which was the creed, and Satan and his worshipers have only become more aware of this real battle. Right, so they understand about this battle. In fact, they never even forgot about this battle. We, the children of Israel, sometimes, obviously, we forgot about this battle because we were born into this ignorantly, not knowing, and therefore we were gullible to fall in many of the inventions that were there against us, right? But it says, if we are those who are next to rule, we must become even more aware what it will take to win this spiritual war. If they are prepared and united, how much more should how much more should we also be prepared that must rule in a kingdom of far more order than the kingdom of darkness, right? So based on we seeing them being prepared, how much more should we be prepared, understanding this battle and this fight that we are engaged? And as I said, we find that while the enemy is focusing on bringing forth this agenda, establishing Satan's rule, we're focusing on individual stuff. We're focusing on what we don't have from what we should have, but we're focusing on all the wrong things rather than focusing on sticking together and being prepared for the storm that's coming, and also the souls that we still have to save, right? Let's get Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. Now, one of the things I say while we turn there, Revelation verse 10, I want to get Genesis chapter 3 verse 10, and it says, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. Now, in other records, when you read it in the Targum, it says, and it shall bruise thy head. When the woman's seed breaks the law, and the woman's seed shall bruise thy heel when he keeps the law of the Most High. So on this battle, what we have to understand, what works, what part of our weaponry is keeping the commandments of the Most High, keeping the law of the Most High. When we do that, we have the ability to bruise the heel of the serpent. The minute we break the commandments and we're caught in sin, then the reverse will happen. The enemy now has ability to bruise our head, right? That's the universal rule on this battlefield. That was a law that was decreed by the Most High on this battlefield. Let's get Revelation 12 and 9. Revelation 12 and 9, and we're going to go down to 16.
Revelation, verse 12, Slakia, chapter 12, verse 9. And a great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accuses them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death.
Right? So understanding on this battlefield, those that are in the Most High or in the Lamb are willing to fight this battle on all the way to death, meaning they love not their life. This mission means more than their lives. Let's read that part again. Sorry. And go on.
And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb.
And the only way we are going to overcome the principalities that are working against us, the rulers in high places, the only way we can overcome them is through Christ. So with understanding that, guess what? We got to be in line with the general, the king, the prince. It's Christ, his word. The tactics that he has used, the instruction that he has given us. If we are not following that, then we're breaking rank, we're not in order, and therefore we are soldiers straying out here on the battlefield. Only a matter of time before we get picked off. Right? Go on.
And by the word of their testimony, and they love not their lives unto death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he has but a short time.
Right, so staying suited up and booted up, do we see Satan wreaking havoc on the earth? Do we see that? Right? I'm thinking about, we had I think 5 years, 6 years back, we had the attack on the sea with the nuclear plant in Japan, pretty much tarnished a lot of the water in the Atlantic, if I'm not mistaken. Pacific? Thank you, brother. The Pacific Ocean, right? We had what happened in Cleveland a few years back, where the plant went up, poisoned the earth, the water. Animals were suffering in Palestine, right? In Cleveland, the water was destroyed. Animals were suffering. We're still not seeing the full effects of that.
Chernobyl.
Right?
Chernobyl.
You share that with me because I can't.
Chernobyl, the Chernobyl plant over in, I think, Ukraine or Russia, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So
land is still no good.
Land is still no good.
Still nothing's going on there.
We got the recent one that happened in Atlanta, right? Where they're saying a teaspoon of that can destroy the world. And I'm like, a teaspoon. I'm still People are coughing up blood right now over there, coughing, respiratory, all types of stuff going on right there. So we got that. What else, man? There's a few more. The fires, thank you. Not only over there, but over here too. And if you notice, a lot of fires they did not report that were happening. Right? So we know we had the big one during in Montreal area and whatnot, where you can see that you can see it from the States, you can see it from both sides of the border. We had that big one there. We had also a few in BC as well, Edmonton as well. Jasper, right? Do we see those for what they really are? Right? Do we see the adversaries burning a lot of places? Getting a lot of people to leave the suburbs to come back into the city. You know, do we see this? You know, they had recent one where the water supply was tainted and whatnot. Do we see these things? Yeah? That was the one in Montreal, Quebec area that happened, right? But I'm saying, do we see these things and align them to the adversary? Because a lot of times what people do, people that are still plugged into this, well, why would God allow that to happen? Or better yet, God is making it happen because it's the judgment. It's part of the judgment, right? But not knowing that it's actually the adversary that's causing a lot of these things. And that's the hard part about this. For everybody can see the Most High, but nobody sees Satan. Nobody sees Satan and the moves he's making on the board, right? Everyone says, "Oh, I see there has to be a creator. I see the sun." But when it's show me Satan, and it's funny because I say this to people of believers. I don't want to use that word loosely. I say this to believers. I say, well, it says Satan has transformed into an angel of light. So it has his ministers. And I'll say to them, show me him. And nobody can show me him. But yet it's right in our faces. I mean, we want to start with the Pope. Start with the Roman Catholic Church. I see his ministers, right? But we can't see it for what it is. Nobody looks at politicians as minions of Satan. But yet, every empire, I mean, think about how much of us glorify some of these politicians. Believe in some of these politicians. Now, maybe not so much here in Canada, because Canada, I mean, I don't think we really have a party that represents black people. But let's look at our brothers in America. When Obama was running, right? The democratic spell that they have on the people. And yet we can see that this spell has been going on for hundreds of years. But in my head, I'm like, well, all the presidents have to go through the rituals. All of them are being paid by, I'm going to say, the lobbyists. All of them have to be part of, I think they call it APAC or, well, the fraternity, but I'm saying all of them have to give homage to APAC, which, thank you, though which the synagogue of Revelation 2:9 speaking about. So because of all of that, they can't be relied on. They can't be trusted. They're working for the adversary. How can they be orchestrating? How can they have a big piece, in a world that belongs to Satan? Everyone know anything about that? How are they calling shots and whatnot? And think about it. Everybody that had a piece in this pie had to go through the same way, because Satan, his program's still the same. They have to go and they have to compromise. Same way how you try to get Christ to compromise. Well, if you follow me, if you worship me, I'll give you this. I'll give you that. I'll give you this. So we have to understand, to get certain things in this world, you have to compromise with the prince of this world. So the position they have, you know, especially in America, they say America, they don't refer to the American government as the government. They say, in some cases, they call him the government of the world. Why? Because America influences a lot of the policies in the world. Think about it. How much of us actually watch Canadian politics? We watch American politics like their policy over there is going to affect our policy over here. Showing you the influence they have. But that influence is of Satan, of the adversary. So when we were lighting up for Obama, you have people over here that jump on a plane to go watch the man's
inauguration.
Thank you, to watch his speech. I don't know the words, but you know what I'm saying. You had so much people zealous. Even to this day, you still have people that say, you know what, he was the best president. But yet you speak to, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you have Canadians over here that have that mindset. But then when you speak to people in America, like even right now, everybody's cussing him out. A lot of black male are cussing him out because they're seeing it for what it really is. Right? Yes, brother. Yeah.
Every single household I go to. No matter where it is, right? If I try to have a conversation, they always revert to CNN. Everything's just CNN. So the spell that you're talking about, it's right here in our faces.
Hey, when you watch, for those who watch They Live, and I said that movie is, even though it's an old movie, that movie is so much layers to it. They Live, the one with Roddy Piper, and he has the glasses on, and you can see the world for what it really is. Now, one of the things, that movie has so many layers to it, and me, I like to break down movies. But in the movie, the signal that was deceiving the world, it came from the news station. Right? So the news station was part of sending out this program that was keeping the people believing this lie, so to speak. And it's no different. That's why they call it your daily programming. Right? It's your daily programming. And that's why a lot of people, when we watch it, it's like, if you don't watch it, you're uninformed. But if you do watch it, you're misinformed. But so us who have spiritually inclined, we can watch it and decipher what to take and what to not to take. And I'm going to say even that is tricky. And I use myself as a scenario. Even that can be tricky at times. And going back to the kids that were brought to march and whatnot, well, the news painted that, and even I ran with that story and was like, well, the school was in on it and whatnot. And then, a sister Tina came to me and was like, Deacon, not really gospel, But I'm saying, even with my objective eye, watching too much of the news sometimes can get you caught up, so to speak. And I think that's the case with all local, all recent media. Because think about it, you can be watching YouTube and whatnot, and then you're there condemning the man, say, yo, the man's guilty, You know what I mean? And the Bible tells us to beware of those things, right? Beware of, false witnesses. I said, a lot of times before we investigate, we've already condemned the individual just off of word of mouth, just off of what the narrative is being told of the individual. Not saying the individual's not guilty or didn't play a part in this. But to some degree, we focus on that and not see that the whole construct in itself is evil and demonic. He's not the only one. Everybody's in on it. right? But let me digress. Let's get second Esdras. And, yeah, sorry, bro. Second Esdras chapter 5, verse 1.
Second Esdras 5, verse 1. Nevertheless, as coming the tokens, behold, the days shall come, that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in great number. And the way of trust shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith.
Hold on. And the way of what?
And the way of Slaki, and the way of truth shall be hidden,
Go on.
and the land shall be barren of faith.
Go on.
But iniquity shall be increased above that which now thou seest, or that thou hast heard long ago. And the land that thou seest now have root. Shalt thou see wasted suddenly? But if the Most High grant thee to live, thou shalt see after the third trumpet that the sun shall suddenly shine again in the night, and the moon thrice in the day. And blood shall drop out of wood, and the stone shall give his voice, and the people shall be troubled. And even he shall rule, whom they look not for that dwell upon the earth, and the fowls shall take their flight away together. And the Sodomitish sea shall cast out fish, and make noise in the night, which may have not known, but they shall all hear the voice thereof. There shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be oft sent oft again, and the wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters, and salt waters shall be found in sweet, and all friends shall destroy one another. Then shall wit hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into a
Right,
secret.
so hold on. Then shall it hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself. So what are they trying to do, family? They are all together trying to get rid of all truth. They're trying to turn pretty much up, down, and down, up. And this explains why we have the agendas where there's no more he, there's no more she, there's no more, you see what I'm saying? They're trying to blur the lines with everything. Go on.
And shall be sought of many, and yet not be found. Then shall unrighteousness and inconsistency be multiplied upon earth.
Right? So you have no truth. You get rid of all truth, and guess what? Corruption breaks forth. This is what they're trying to accomplish. Go on.
One land also shall ask another, and say, Is righteousness that maketh a man, righteousness gone through thee? And it shall say, No.
Right? So this explains why in that day the righteous shall be valued like gold, more than gold. Because guess what? The nations are going to say, is there any truth that has passed through you? Because all truth will, through censorship, all truth will be hidden in these last days. This is what they're trying to accomplish. And anybody who has the truth, guess what? You are an enemy of the state. We got camps for you. We got places to cut off heads. So we have to understand the battle ahead. Because guess what? Some of us will understand the battle and say, you know what? As long as we have Christ, we can win this battle. And some of us are going to say, you know what? Hide me. I'm just going to blend in until I end up in a camp. But some of us are going to fold during that time, right? And then we're going to know who's of the Most High, who's of the Most High, and who is still of the world. Go on. That's it. So the way of truth has been hidden by the powers of this earth, and by doing so, they have been able to sneak in ways of destroying the Most High's creation due to a spiritual disconnect in the earth, where good morals are taking a backseat, and selfishness, perversions. We must proclaim the truth in the mix of overwhelming sin, understanding that soon those that are found worthy will be moved from the wicked city of this world to serve the Father, and Satan will then have full power over those who are left, right? And we're seeing that. You know, as I said, we're talking about the technology that gives them through frequency to control the thoughts, reaction. And believe it or not, I said, if you watch Coming Out of Babylon, the last one they showed that they were able to do this in flies. I'm like, hold on, how small is a fly? Anytime the fly, they wanted to make the fly flap his wings to escape, just light, flashing a light, they were able to do this. They did it with mice. Every time they wanted the mouse to run in a circle, they turned on the light or the frequency, he ran in a circle. So if they can do this with creation, imagine what they can do with man that is not as limited, so to speak, like the animals are, right? Makes you think, makes you wonder, right? Those are quotes from, those that are found worthy will be, and we talked about this, right? So eventually we will be moved out of Satan's construct, and those will be in the wilderness, right? These are quotes from a weather manipulation or modification website, which proves it's something going on with our weather we don't understand because of spiritual disconnect with the world, with the word of the Most High, right? So let's go into this, and it's aerial cloud seeding, right? So this is a technology that they have. Many of us, we know about this, going into HARP, how they can modify technology, or the weather, should I say, using spraying stuff in the atmosphere, metals and stuff like that, and then using frequencies and all of that, right? But let's get this.
This is a quote from weathermodification.com. All right, it's cloud seeding, aerial. It says, this is in quotes, water resources are increasingly taxed by exploding demand and continued population growth. The world's population is projected to grow over 40% in the next 45 years. Weather modification, commonly known as cloud seeding, is the application of scientific technology that can enhance a cloud's ability to produce precipitation. Weather Modification Incorporated is on the forefront of scientific technology to maximize water availability worldwide. Application of scientific concepts and extensive scientific experimentation has proven that cloud seeding increases the amount of precipitation. Aerial cloud seeding is a process of delivering a seeding agent by aircraft, either at the cloud base or cloud top. Top seeding allows for direct injection of the seeding agent into the supercool cloud top. Base seeding is the release of seeding agent in the updraft of a cloud base.
Right, let me read this now. Incredibly fast flooding has of recent destroyed many villages and farmlands, right? Now, you guys, we're seeing this where we're seeing a lot of floods, a lot of hurricanes. What they're actually saying, they're saying that hurricane season, I mean, think about it just for this year itself. So far, we've had, at least 2, maybe 3 hurricanes? 3. And they're saying that we still have another, I think, 2 months, if I'm not mistaken, of hurricane season left. So what they're finding is that we're getting an increase of hurricanes in the last few years, right? Now, what is also what we kind of have to look at, and we're going to get it in the next article, but let me continue to read this. It says, often complaining of not having, so incredibly fast flooding has of recently destroyed many villages and farmland. The people often complain of not having time to even prepare because of how unexpected it was. It is global warming, or has Satan taught men how to produce their own natural disasters through so-called science, right? And that's the question. You are going to find that a lot of the catastrophic disasters are man-made and have nothing to do with the false distraction known as global warming. In fact, this particular site sells different means of weather modification, right? So I'll use an example. They say that it was a natural fire that destroyed Mali in Hawaii, right? This is what they say. There's a natural fire that destroyed the place and whatnot. But then you have videos of people showing a laser coming from the heavens, burning up the whole city. Literally pinpointed, and then when you look at the fire, all the trees are still standing up. But the constructs, the buildings, are all destroyed. And I was saying to myself, when did you see fire do that? Fire usually burns everything in its path. Right? Cars melted. And blue cars were not affected. So, and they were talking about how certain things of color, they were saying if you paint your house blue, it won't affect you or whatnot. They were going into theories like that. But they were saying how these things were very precise for it just to be a natural fire. Right? Now, this article, this kind of goes into this. So let's get this to show, let's get first Enoch, and we're going to go through this quick. But let's get right here. We'll pick up right here.
This is 1 Enoch chapter 8, verse 1. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates.
Right, so this is what the fallen angels taught men what to do. Go on.
And made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and breastplates and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And these arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways.
Right, so through the things that the fallen angels taught man, it led to a lot of corruptedness on the earth, right? Go on.
There's a spirit, I won't name it, but taught enchantments and root cutting, and another spirit, the resolving of enchantments, and another spirit taught astrology, and another one, the constellations, and another one, the knowledge of clouds, and another one's the signs of the earth, and another one's the signs of the sun, and another one, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven.
Right, so through all these things that the fallen angels started to teach men, and one of those things being the knowledge of clouds, or how to manipulate the clouds, how to manipulate some of these metals. They found that the more they taught men these things, it says, as men perish, the course of the moon, and as men perish. So through the learning of all these things, it was bringing destruction onto mankind. They cried, and their cry went up to heaven, right? So it says, so the fallen ones also taught men knowledge of the clouds, and they're going around the earth. Those that are ruling the earth presently have full knowledge of how to manipulate the clouds, and they are destroying the earth. We often blame the Most High in the world for the bad things happening, but it also happened pre-flood, where Satan was destroyed. Man would cry out in confusion as death increased and still would not repent, right? And this is what Satan, all these things are happening, and as I said, we will blame the Most High, not seeing the adversary, not seeing that the Most High is allowing these things to happen as long as we are in a state of sin, right? Because the judgment that is coming to punish the fallen angels, Satan, and those that are in sin, right? Let's get Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12.
Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 12, and we're going down to 17. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation, in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof?
And destroyed the cities thereof, that made the place a wilderness. Showing you that Satan was doing all this destruction. And when it's all said and done, people will be like, he was the one doing all of this. Right? Go on.
That opened not the house of his prisoners.
That open, and some will say, well, could Satan cast man into prison? Well, Revelation 2:9 says, I know thy tribulation, thy poverty, fear not, for Satan shall cast some of you in prison. So yes, he is over this construct. He is giving them the ideals on what to do, right? So it says, speaking of a world, a wilderness, even the wilderness has been ruined, has been burned. There were multiple forest fires, and we spoke about this, across the U.S., even across here in Canada, even in the middle of winter. Ask yourself, since when in history has this type of thing happened, or on such a massive scale? You will soon discover that a tactic of war was once done by many countries, including Rome, before engaging an enemy was called scorch earth. It's when you burn up all the resources that your enemies would have access to while retreating, like forests, farmlands, etc. So one of the tactics used by Rome, a few armies used it, eventually became outdated during the Geneva Convention, I believe. We're going to get all that in the article. But what they would do is they would they would go into a land, and all the resources, all the constructs, all the food, vegetation, all that, they would burn it, pollute it, destroy it. Therefore, the people would have nothing to survive. They would pretty much die off, right? Now, a new way of doing this is natural disasters. So when we're looking at, what happened in Mali, they destroyed the whole place. Eventually, all the people that lived there had to migrate and move out. Eventually, what happened? The world powers came in, and that's prime real estate now. They build the place out, right? Where else we're seeing this right now? Let's look at what's going on in the Gaza Strip right now. Will you deem that this tactic called scorched earth? Well, they're blowing up hospitals. Any place of refuge or where they can hide has been a place where they can target. You can be in the middle of your bed, sleeping in your own home. You can become targeted. Now, according to this scorched earth policy, any country engaging in that is considered a war crime. But if you say, hey, they're firing rockets from there, now it becomes justifiable, even though it's not justifiable. So these tactics, they're still using these tactics, what I'm trying to say. Right? Whether it's through natural disasters or whether or not they're giving certain countries the right and ability to just bomb people, other nations' cities. We're seeing this happen. But while we're seeing it happen, are we saying, hold on, Satan's in the works here? No, not really. In fact, for some people, you know what some people are saying? Well, even better yet, they're God-chosen people, and they have the right to defend themselves.
Christians are saying that.
That's what I'm saying. But why? Because they believe the lie. Because Christ says, you will know them by their fruits. And if you're looking at their fruits, you see their fruits do not support or back being the people of God. Right? And their justification, well, you know what? They did this to us. So guess what? We're going to annihilate everything. Can you imagine if the real people of God had that mindset? I mean, if anybody should feel that way, I think we would be okay to feel that way. Everything they have done to us. But you know how we do it? You know how we are? Showing you said there's a different spirit in us. Forgive them. Forgive them. Right? Every campaign, every experiment, every unjust thing, we've been able to forgive them. Showing you the spirit that dwells in us is a spirit that really is close to the Most High, that wants to forgive. But the people that are claiming to be the people of the God, nah, vengeance. And not only that, we're going to bomb, we want more, we want to bomb next people next door. I'm like, hold on, do you guys have anybody around you that likes you? That's true. You know what I'm saying? But that's another story for another time. So let's get scorched earth, and then we got two more scriptures, and that's it, family. We'll bring this home. Let's get a scorched earth. So it says, and I'll pick it. I'll do this one. So during the Punic War in 218 to 220 BC, the Catholic Greeks, the people of Catherine, right? Or better yet, I won't butcher it. Help me out here, brother.
Carthaginians.
Thank you. Right? Now, that was actually us. When you look at the people of, or when you look at Hannibal, they were children of Israel, right? Go on. This is a tactic they always used against us. Go on.
Used this method selectively while storming through Italy. After the end of the Third Punic War in 146 BC, the Roman Senate also elected to use this method to permanently destroy the Carthaginian capital city, Carthage, near modern-day Tunis. The buildings were torn down, their stones scattered, so not even rubble remained, and the fields were burned.
Right, so nowadays you cannot do this. According to, and I read this nowadays because this was outlawed by the Geneva Convention in 1977. The powers that be do it in secret, and they call them natural disasters. Or they claim some children were responsible, right? So they'll say, well, someone in the field was playing with fire and dropped the fire, and it caused this big, massive 100-acre fire in Texas. They'll use stuff like this. But let's get Psalms 81, and then we're going to close off with Romans. Let's get Psalms 83, verse 1.
Psalms 83, verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O Ahiah, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Ahiah. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They that have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Eden, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarites, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also is joined with them. They have holpen the children of Lot, Selah.
Right? So it said in Isaiah 14 that Satan opened not up the prison houses of the prisoners, which are the children of Israel, who have no idea who they are, right? And this is why we have to fight this battle, because we're, the sheep, the Most High's inheritance, they just left there scattered, strayed, to be picked off one by one. And Christ saw this, and Christ, being the shepherd, said, nah, man, it says he had compassion, understanding that most of our people are just without guidance, proper guidance, right? Let me continue. Satan may have been at the helm, but he had help from Satanists all over the world to bring this thing to the point it is at now. We must unite under Christ and serve the Most High because time is running out even faster than the resources they are destroying. That's what it should say. Let's get Romans chapter 13, verse 11, and this is our close off scripture here.
We're in Romans 13, 11 to 14. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying. But put ye on the Most High Yeshua, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof.
Right? So we always got to be ready, regardless of the time, the season, the place, the event. We always got to be suited up and booted up, family. So it says, free yourselves from the lust and confusion of this world, and be armed with spiritual protection for the days ahead. Serve the Father in love and keep his commandments, and don't look to do the things any other way except for the path that he left for us to walk. With that being said, Shabbat Shalom, family. Right?